Welcome back to Week 5 podcast. This week we talked about paid modules and we have Aditya with us for the podcast. Hi, well.
Hello, sir. We're going to look at a few questions from PED module and understand a little bit more deeply on how PED module works in real life in real interventions. A lot of students who are actually taking this course are now proficient in using AI. We'll go to the question first on how AI can help us creating a pedagogical module.
Okay, that's a great question. Um, there are multiple ways. So the first step will be like we could ask AI, to come up with the different, different adaptive strategies for the given scenarios. You could come up with a scenario. Okay, I have a student is performing in this question for this much time, and the performance is wrong. What would be my best adaptive, scenarios? Our AI can help find out the existing scenarios, like what we did in the, this week. We discussed a lot paid modules available across the systems. AI can bring up a lot of, scenarios which worked in the research studies and which has been worked and tested in the real classrooms. That can help. That's also AI could help you to, get the details. Or the real advanced level would be let AI decide what is missing in student. Let AI decide to give the remedial content. The only thing is we should tell AI you want to go by behaviorist method, like give a reward and punishment kind of thing. Or would you like to give a constructive method? Let them explore and do it. So AI can be doing both. So you have to find of decide what is your ped logic. You could ask AI to do it, that's the one, or ask AI to give you the suggestions based on suggestions based on scenario, or use AI for searching the right pedagogy module. But AI can help come up with a new PED module, help in developing and designing the PED module, certainly.
Thank you, sir. Um, Now let's move on to certain scenarios. So if I'm like a educational technology startup founder and I'm developing a personalized learning application, um, what do you think can be constituted as minimum viable PED module? And what should be the basic PED module before I even add any AI features or something of that sort?
Oh, that's a very good question. So, what is the minimum PET module? Uh, what would be the minimum domain module if you think about it? Like any content, a set of question and answer can be called as a domain model. If hints, if they have the remedial content, it is even better. A learner model can simply have the learner's personal profile data plus the student's performance in the particular set of questions. And so what's the minimum pet module? The minimum pet module can be you adapt the content based on learner data plus using the existing domain model.
Okay.
So even if you adapt a content, for example, if a student is answering set of questions, if the next question is adapted based on student's previous question performance, that can be the pet module. If the next question next learning content is provided to the learner based on their prior knowledge or experience plus cognition, that is also paid version. Minimum will be if you applied any rule based system, if a student does this, give feedback. But if you created a system, consider a system, there are 4 options MCQ questions. For each option there's a separate feedback, then that is not a paid module, right? It is basically a fixed system, like based on options you get the feedback. But if you have a logic saying that if the student answers this question wrongly, I want to give this content. If last 3 questions are wrong, I want to give feedback. Or the 5 questions may, if you have only 60% of the mark, I need to consider student is less in the mastery, I need to repeat it. This any simple rule you become, that become the pet logic.
Yeah, sir. So my next question, of course, stems from this answer that you gave. The idea is there are a lot of companies which talk and claim to be adaptive because they simply recommend next video or quiz. So when we look at it from a learning science perspective, what do you think is like? a real pedagogy module. Do you
Okay.
think those companies, when they say, "Oh, we are adaptive," provide a real pedagogical module? They might.
Yeah, in the logic of the minimum PED module, if you are able to adapt the learning content based on the feedback, that is, if you and me are taking a particular set of courses, if I am answering, my learning path is different. My next content, the next set of questions is really different. I might take more time, but whereas you would
Yeah.
completely quickly complete it, you would have gone to next topic within less time compared to me. So which helps. This is the PED logic, right? So if any company, as per the logic, if it provides the, how to say, if it provides the adaptive content, it will be called as paid logic. In a learning science perspective, this will be based on the cognitive load and matching the content. That's a level, but only providing the adaptive content without understanding why the learner failed, without understanding the reason for it, without analyzing, then I would not say that's a pet module. But as a pet module logic, adapting a
Yeah.
content become pet logic. Yes.
Yes. Thank you so much. I feel like all these systems are trying to adapt, and they're intervening the students when they are stuck. So there's also this factor of productive struggle. Like a teacher usually in a classroom stays silent before they intervene with the student. How do you think that can be translated to an adaptive tutoring system where when to intervene is a question?
Very good. Actually, this we'll be discussing later in the weeks.
Okay.
But to give a brief answer, um, don't intervene at every time the student struggling. However, all the examples we gave for the class 6 students and very young students, if you go to the higher education or the undergraduate students, don't intervene, because let them struggle. Productive struggle is very important. If they struggle, then they go out of their zone. When to intervene is, this is the dilemma. It's like a trade-off. If I intervene too much, the student is not having a struggle. The student is easily learning it. They're not really understanding the concept. If I don't intervene at all, the student would do a productive struggle. They might get confused. That might lead to the frustration. They might get bored. They might leave the system.
Yeah.
So these, let them struggle and try hard. Has to be some threshold. The threshold depends on your design
Yeah.
and depends on the different domain and content. So there's no
Yeah.
fixed
Yeah.
threshold. So yeah, productive struggle is good. That's the teachers do it a lot. In a system, we will go for the open learner models where we provide all the data to learner, then let data to decide. So learner to decide based on the data.
Um, so since you mentioned open learner models, let's quickly look at a question based on open learner models that I had. So open learner models expose the system's understanding of the learner back to themselves. Do you think this creates better self-regulated learners, or sometimes probably it might create some sort of anxiety for students?
I think it's very true. If I give out too much data, the learner is already learning something. If you're adding too much data, there might be the cognitive overload. Learners might get anxiety.
Yeah.
But with the proper self-regulated learning prompts, I think SRL prompts we mean,
Yeah.
you could able to reduce the anxiety and help them to
Yeah.
plan. The idea of SRL is that the student plans. I think it's like combination of multiple things, construct like metacognition, affect, motivation, kind of things. For example, in this thing, you need to understand student have to apply their skills to solve the problem completely. The issue is that we don't know how to measure it.
Okay.
So we could actually give feedback saying that,
Yes.
hey, you are in a planning phase. You could support the learner with the planning. Let them show their planning. Let them show their data.
Yeah.
In open learner models, all the performance is visible to them, saying that, hey, you have done this question.
Yeah.
This is your feedback. Would you like to go next? You could recommend it.
Yeah.
So it's again, that it might create anxiety if you don't consider it.
Yes.
Too much data as a cognitive load, or it might be also the students will have self-regulated learners. They learn how to learn, so that is far better. My suggestion is have SL prompts in the open learner models. A small monitoring is definitely needed.
Yes. Thank you so much, sir. I'll probably jump into a few questions that I had about semantics. Uh, so, for example, if I had very limited engineering resources, should I just start with rule-based pedagogical models, or should I jump directly into some sort of data-driven personalization, something like clustering or some sort of those kinds of models? What's your take on that?
So if you have limited engineering sources, and you could start with simple rule-based pedagogy modules. More than that, it depends on the type of content you are developing. Suppose consider we are used mathematics examples in this, in the last 2 3 weeks. If you have the mathematic content, step by step process of the learner and where the student will struggle, we could definitely use simple rule based models. We don't need to worry about any clustering or something like that. It is not really depends on the engineering resource or something, because in the current way systems, clustering is just possible in any
Yes.
laptop now. No need to worry much. But if the content is not structured like a mathematics, if it needs a lot of intercombination of concepts and skills, then I would go for the data driven personalization like a clustering. In a normal setup, depends on your domain, you choose simple rule based model or the data driven personalization.
Yeah, and what I also see nowadays is that many developers are focusing heavily on learning analytics, learner analytics, dashboarding. We often see that in different kinds of tutors that have come in the market. Um, but what do you feel, according to you, like what learner signals are actually meaningful enough to drive pedagogical decisions? Can
Okay.
you?
So I think we love to think the two ways is that cognition based systems, only the performance in the question answers is enough. You don't need much data. But if you're going into the learning analytics and you have a lot of data collecting, the
Yeah.
clickstream data collecting, the best way is that we want to understand the learning processes. Okay, the learning processes is the best to give a feedback.
Yeah.
To give a learning processes, only the outcome is not needed, how the student learned. So you need to collect at least the learner's clickstream data. Then we could provide the knowledge on how the student processed on this particular concept. We know the outcome is, did it good or bad, but why it happened, that is more useful. A simple method will involve only the cognition, that's
Yeah.
outcome. The best learning method would involve the time sequence data, not a single data, sequence
Yeah.
of data. So you could use, sequential pattern mining or process mining, or some other kind of theories to understand the students' good strategies, then provide feedback. So yeah, so to for meaningful pedagogical decisions based on the learning analytics, I would recommend do the patterns and sequence of data.
Yes. So I have final couple questions, sir. These questions majorly stem from understanding how we can have future adaptive tutors. So we spoke about in the class about Netflix, Amazon, and the recommendation that Netflix and Amazon give. So mostly those kinds of system are looking at maximum engagement.
Yes.
So how do you think, like, how collaborative filtering can help us move from maximum engagement to maximum learning?
Okay, great question. How can we use this for great learning? Based on the data, we see that more the engagement is more learning, but although it is always not true, we have seen in a lot of systems where students get engaged but they're not learning. The productive engagement, the expected engagement is more leads to learning compared to just engagement. um, to want to do a maximizing engagement to the learning, we need to understand why the student is in the particular state. That's what we were talking about in the previous question. Like if you know the learning processes and consider that patterns to provide a recommendation instead of simply using the collaborative filtering. For example, a student studied a subject A, so he'll be interested in subject B, but you need to understand why, how he studied, what is the learning processes he did, how many times he attempted, reattempted, is it did he struggle? based on the learner behavior and learner analytics data, plus the recommendation engine adapts based on that, then it is far
Yeah.
better compared to simply in Amazon, Netflix. No, you give a nest content, relevant content, so you are engaged, but you are not bothered whether they're learning or not. So shift would be towards the understanding the learning processes and providing feedback.
Yes.
So that would be better than going to learn and engaging to the learning.
Yeah, and I also feel like a lot of systems usually cater towards flashiness, engagement, but are they actually maximizing learning is a big question.
Yeah.
And one final question that I have for this week is it's about personalization. People are moving forward with personalization, and a danger is that students would only receive content that they prefer or perform well. How would we try to design systems or pedagogical logic per se that would probably challenge learners rather than just comforting them of giving them the same kind of content or same kind of things that they prefer or perform? Yeah.
Okay, I think we are talking about this more often nowadays. So, the point is, personalization system is created for the young learners, where they are learning with the existing classroom. Okay, the systems we talked about all are from this particular perspective. Any systems you take, the learner is going to a proper school where they're learning the topic. This system is kind of helps them to solve the problem with set of feedbacks, comments, and everything. But doing only comments when they need it, giving bottom out hints, everything, it's actually not helping them to learn. When they feel struggle, they get a good answer, then they're not learning much.
Yeah.
So what did we do is that we should be avoid personalization too much for the higher or the students when they grow up. Instead, we should be giving them a very challenging question. I think as you mentioned, what is the content is challenging. Let the student learn and try to understand the current cognitive level, then provide the advanced content, the topic. It might be different trajectory compared to other learners. That's perfectly fine. And or challenge them questions and see what happens. You give a higher order thinking skill questions and check how student learns. If he learns, good. Give more questions, let the students learn. No need to worry about the learner concept, everything, because if a student is able to answer 3 higher order thinking
Yeah.
school thinking skills question in a sequence, which means the student knows the topic very well.
Yeah.
So it's a good way, to do it. So the one way is like, don't do too much personalization. That would let students not to feel what is productive struggle at all. Or you could simply add challenging questions now and then and see student performance. If he's able to do it, move on to the next topic.
Yes.
That is also possible.
Yes, sir. So, yeah, these were the questions that I had for pedagogical module, and thank you so much for answering them. To the learners, I hope you all have learned something good about pedagogical module in this week, and thank you so much for joining.
Yeah. Thank you, Aditya, and thank you, everyone.